What is it that gives you life? That gives you life. Notice it's a different question than what do you do, but instead, what gives you life? I ask the different question because the reality is we all know that our life is a busy schedule so often that it's filled with a lot of things that are to-dos and tasks and things to be done. Maybe, just today you probably had to drive to work if you're not working from home, or you had to get the kids ready and make breakfast, and you might have a meeting today, or maybe you listen to a podcast on the way to work. Maybe later today you will be able to have just like a moment to read a book or watch Netflix. You'll scroll through social media. You'll have to get the kids, put to bed and make dinner and do some chores. All kinds of stuff that our life is filled with on our to-do list. But what is it that gives you life? Because here's what I want to challenge us with today, is I want to live a life that matters. And I want you to make your life matter. So how can we, in a world that's busy schedules, filled with everything going on, how can we make sure that we make our life matter? Well, I want to go to the scripture today, and very briefly, I want to look at two things that Jesus says that I think will impact how we view making our life matter. And these two things, they have a common thread, and that common thread is this. It's that they both have results in eternity, that they both impact eternity. If we were making an investment, the best investment would be something that is going to last the longest amount of time. And both of these things that make our life matter have eternal impact. So if you would, let's go together and study it. And I'm going to go in Matthew chapter 22. Jesus was asked this. He was asked what the greatest commandment is. And Jesus says, the greatest command is to love the Lord your God with your heart, soul, mind, and strength. This is the first and greatest. And the second is like it, to love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and prophets hang on these two commandments. So in a busy schedule, in a busy world, how can you make your life matter? Well, the first is to love God. The first is to love God. And I want to encourage you that we have to make time for God in our life. Now, it may not be easy because life is busy, but we have to put a flag down as a people and say that I want a life that matters. And to do that, I have to spend time with God. I would encourage you to spend time studying the scripture, to carve out time being a part of the local church, whether in this season that's online or coming in person. We have to make God a priority in our life. What's the greatest commandment? To love the Lord your God with your heart, soul, mind, and strength. I would also encourage you that if time is tough, there's other ways that we can make sure we can carve out time for God. And I think we can have a change of perspective. When you go to the workplace, in your family, in your friends' interactions, maybe the hobbies you do, there's a different lens that we could put on and view those through. And instead of them just being things that we do, if we want to have a life that matters, we have to realize that we are a carrier of the good news in those interactions, that God has placed you as a missionary in your work environment, that God has placed you as a missionary to your family to serve and love those around you. How can we have a life that matters? By loving God. What's the second way? Well, Jesus was pretty clear that out of the overflow of loving God with heart, soul, mind, and strength, that we would also love our neighbors as ourselves. So how do we have a life that matters? We love God and we love people. I would encourage you to serve others. If you want to be a radical in today's world, think of yourself less often and promote other people. Serve other people. The Jesus that we look to is the one who did not count equality with God as a thing to be grasped, but instead he laid his life down and became low, humbled himself as a servant, and even took on death and death on the cross. He's the Jesus who the night before his crucifixion, that he takes off his garments and he goes and he washes the disciples' feet. That's the Jesus we serve. Living a life that matters looks like serving other people. I'd encourage you, whether that's a charity to serve at, or a local establishment, or if it's the local church and getting involved serving there, or maybe it's simply, again, viewing our interactions differently at work, with our family, being a person who, instead of trying to get ahead, is instead okay with the reality that God is sovereign and instead serves other people. I guarantee you that will be a powerful testimony in today's world. As a church family and as a people, let's live a life that matters. Let's make our life matter by loving God and loving others. And speaking of it, love you guys and cannot wait to see you again soon. Thanks for tuning in and being a part of today's 128 moment.